could list every reason she should never go back. The lies, the disappearing, the promises he made and broke, the nights she cried while he slept peacefully beside her, the way she slowly stopped recognizing herself, and yet, at 1:43 every morning, she still missed him. That was the part she couldn't explain. How could you miss someone you knew was wrong for you? How could your heart ache for someone your mind had already forgiven itself for leaving? And why, after everything they had done, did she sometimes still wish her phone would light up with his name? Her name was Nora, and for 8 months she had been trying to answer one question. If he hurt me so much, why do I still miss him? She thought the answer was simple. She thought it meant she still loved him. But one rainy night, she discovered something inside an old drawer that made her question everything she believed about missing someone. It wasn't a message from him. It wasn't a photograph. It wasn't even something he had given her. It was something she had written herself. And it would explain why she couldn't let go. The relationship had begun beautifully. That's what made the ending so confusing. His name was Daniel. When they first met, he remembered little things. Her favorite coffee, the book she had mentioned once, the song she played whenever she drove that night. He made her feel noticed, and being noticed can feel dangerously close to being understood. For the first year, Nora thought she had found the person she had been waiting for. Then things changed. Not suddenly. That would have been easier. Instead, the changes came quietly. A canceled dinner, a forgotten promise, a message left unanswered, an apology that never arrived, then another, then another. Every time Nora asked what was happening, Daniel told her she was overthinking, so she tried not to. When he became distant, she became more patient. When he stopped communicating, she communicated more carefully. When he hurt her, she became better at forgiving. And when she finally started crying more often than she laughed, she blamed herself. Maybe she was too sensitive. Maybe relationships were supposed to be difficult. Maybe love meant staying when things became uncomfortable. She didn't realize she was slowly learning to confuse pain with devotion. Until the night he left. He stood near the front door with his coat already on. Nora asked, "Are you coming back?" Daniel didn't answer immediately. Then he said, "I don't know," and walked away. She watched the door close, and somehow that was the moment she began missing him. Not when he was kind, not when they were happy, not when he held her hand. She began missing him when he became unavailable. That was the first thing she didn't understand, and it would take her months to discover why. After the breakup, Nora kept one object, a small ceramic blue cup. Daniel had bought it for her during their first winter together. It wasn't expensive. It wasn't beautiful. The handle was slightly crooked. There was a tiny crack near the bottom. But every morning, Nora had used it for coffee. After he left, she couldn't bring herself to throw it away, so it stayed in the kitchen for months. Every morning, she would reach for another cup, but sometimes, without thinking, her hand would move toward the blue one. Then she'd stop. It was almost embarrassing. She didn't want the cup. She didn't want him. At least, that's what she told herself. But she couldn't throw it away. One night, she finally placed it inside a drawer. Then she went to bed. At 1:43 a.m., she woke up. She reached for her phone. Nothing. No message. No missed call. Just darkness. She stared at the ceiling and whispered, "I still miss you." The words frightened her because they were true. But then another thought appeared. Do I miss him? she asked. "What exactly do you miss?" Nora started listing things. His voice, his laugh, the way he used to touch her hair, the first apartment, their Sunday mornings, the feeling of being chosen. Claire listened. Then she said, "Which of those things do you actually miss about the person he became?" Nora went silent, because the answer was almost nothing. She didn't miss the man who ignored her. She didn't miss the man who made promises he didn't keep. She didn't miss the nights she cried alone. She missed the beginning. She missed the version of him who existed before everything became complicated. And maybe she missed the version of herself who existed then too. That realization hurt, but it also gave her something she hadn't had in months. A direction. That night, Nora opened the drawer. The blue cup was still there. She took it out. For the first time, she noticed something written underneath it. A tiny sentence. She had forgotten it was there. "For slow mornings." Daniel had written it with a permanent marker before giving her the cup. Nora smiled. Then she began to cry, because she suddenly understood why the cup had been so difficult to throw away. It wasn't really Daniel she was holding on to. It was a morning, a feeling, a version of life before she knew how badly things would end. The cup had become a container for memory, and every time she saw it, she wasn't asking for Daniel. She was asking to go back, but there was no going back, only forward. That night, Nora did something she had never done before. She made coffee in the blue cup. She sat by the window, and she drank it slowly. She expected sadness. Instead, she felt something stranger. Nothing, not emptiness, just nothing. The cup was still blue. The crack was still there. The handwriting was still underneath, but the memory didn't control her. And for a few minutes, she simply sat there. Then her phone vibrated. Her heart jumped. For 1 second, she thought it might be Daniel. It wasn't. It was a message from Claire. "You don't have to answer him if he ever comes back." Nora stared at the message. She hadn't told Claire she was thinking about that, because somewhere inside her, she had been wondering, what if he came back? What if he apologized? What if he finally understood? What if this time was different? Then another notification appeared. Claire had sent another message. "Missing someone doesn't mean you should return to them." Nora put the phone down, because that was the sentence she needed. Not because it made the pain disappear, because it separated two things she had confused for months. Missing someone and needing them. They were not the same. 3 months later, Daniel called. It was a Sunday. Nora was standing in the kitchen. The blue cup was beside the sink. She looked at his name on the screen. Her heart began racing. For a moment, she was 29 again, back in their apartment, waiting for him to come home, wondering what she had done, wanting him to choose her. The phone rang again. Nora didn't answer. It stopped. Then came a message. "I miss you." She sat down. Those 3 words were enough to bring back 1,000 memories. The good ones first. His smile. The first winter. The blue cup. Their road trip. The night they danced in the kitchen. Then came the others. The silence. The lies. The nights she cried. The feeling of being unwanted. The constant uncertainty. Nora stared at the message for a long time. Then another message appeared. "Can we talk?" Her old self would have answered immediately. Her old self would have believed that missing her meant he had finally understood her value. But Nora had learned something. People can miss your presence without understanding the pain they caused. Someone can miss you and still not know how to love you. Someone can regret losing you without becoming capable of keeping you. That was the difference. So Nora didn't answer, not because she hated him, because she no longer needed the conversation to prove that she had mattered. That night, she placed the blue cup on the counter. She touched the little crack with her finger. Then she realized something. She had spent months thinking the cup represented Daniel. It didn't. It represented the woman who had survived him, the woman who had cried, the woman who had waited, the woman who had blamed herself, the woman who had finally stopped waiting. And perhaps that's what heartbreak does. It takes ordinary things and fills them with meaning. A song, the song becomes yours again. The street becomes just a street. The restaurant becomes somewhere you can eat. The night becomes a night. And the cup becomes a cup. That is when you know you're healing, not when you stop remembering, when remembering stops controlling you. If you're listening to this because there's someone you still miss, I want you to remember one thing. You are allowed to miss them. You don't have to pretend you don't. You don't have to turn them into a monster just so you can move forward. You don't have to hate someone in order to stop choosing them. You can miss their laugh. You can miss their voice. You can miss the person they were. You can even miss the life you imagined together and still understand that going back would hurt you. Those truths can exist at the same time. You can love someone and know that loving them from a distance is healthier than loving them up close. You can remember the good without forgetting the bad. You can forgive without reopening the door. And you can miss someone without making their absence an emergency. There is something else Nora eventually understood. She had spent months asking, why don't I stop missing him? But that wasn't the right question. The better question was, what am I really missing? And once she asked that, the answer became clearer. She missed being chosen. She missed having someone to text goodnight. She missed knowing where she belonged. She missed the future she had imagined. She missed the certainty she thought love was supposed to give her. But none of those things belonged exclusively to Daniel. They belonged to life. And life wasn't over. That was the part she couldn't see when she was hurting. She thought losing him meant losing the possibility of being loved again. It didn't. It only meant that one version of love had ended. Months later, Nora moved to a different apartment. Smaller, quieter, closer to the park. On the first morning there, she made coffee. She reached automatically for the blue cup, then stopped. She almost laughed. She had packed it. She hadn't even realized. She filled it, walked to the window, and sat down. There was sunlight on the floor, a bird outside, a car passing somewhere below. Nothing extraordinary, and yet Nora smiled, because this morning didn't belong to Daniel. It belonged to her. The blue cup no longer meant the relationship. It meant something else now. A promise she had made to herself for slow mornings, not mornings spent leading, not mornings spent checking her phone, not mornings spent wondering if someone would finally choose her. Just slow mornings, peaceful ones, her own. And maybe if you're lying awake tonight missing someone who hurt you, your heart is doing something very human. It is remembering. It is reaching backward, because backward is familiar. But familiar doesn't always mean safe. Sometimes we miss people because our hearts remember the warmth before they remember the wound. Sometimes we miss the beginning and accidentally blame ourselves for missing the ending. Sometimes we don't miss the person at all. We miss who we were when we believed they would stay. And that version of you deserves compassion too. You don't have to shame yourself for still missing them. Healing isn't a straight line. Some nights you'll feel free. Some nights their name will still hurt. Some mornings you'll wake up and think you're completely over it. And then a song will play and suddenly you're back there. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you had a life with someone, and lives leave traces. The traces aren't chains. Memories aren't instructions. And missing someone is not a command to go back. So if you still miss them tonight, let yourself admit it, quietly, without judgment. I miss you. And then add something you may not have been able to say before, but but I choose me. I miss what we had, but I choose what I have now. I miss who you were, but I won't return to who you became. I miss the memories, but I won't sacrifice my peace to recreate them. And slowly, the words begin to feel less like a goodbye to someone else and more like a homecoming to yourself. If these quiet stories speak to something you've been carrying alone, subscribe to this channel and stay here, because this is a place for the nights when your mind won't stop remembering. For the heartbreak you don't know how to explain, for the people you still miss, for the goodbyes you never got to say properly, and for the quiet moments when you're finally learning how to choose yourself again. You don't have to go through those nights alone. There'll be another story waiting for you here, another quiet voice, another reminder that what you're feeling has a name and that healing is possible. So if this story found you at the right moment, subscribe before you go. Not because you need another channel to watch, but because sometimes when the night gets heavy again, it's good to know where to come back to. Nora never stopped remembering Daniel completely. She didn't need to. One day, she realized that forgetting him was never the goal. The goal was being able to remember him without abandoning herself. And that night, she went to bed. The blue cup sat quietly in the kitchen. Her phone was face down. There was no message waiting, no apology, no explanation, no promise. And somehow, that was okay, because she had finally stopped waiting for someone else to give her the ending. She had written it herself, not with anger, not with revenge, with peace. And if you're still missing someone who hurt you, maybe your story isn't asking you to forget them tonight. Maybe it's asking you to remember something else. Remember who you were before the pain. Remember what you tolerated that you never deserved. Remember how hard you tried. Remember that loving someone deeply doesn't make you foolish. And remember this, most of all, you can miss someone and still move on. You can love someone and still leave them behind. You can remember the beautiful moments without returning to the painful ones. And one night, perhaps sooner than you think, you'll wake up and realize something has changed. You still remember their name. You still remember their face. That your heart no longer reaches for them. It reaches for the life waiting in front of you. And when that happens, you won't need to announce that you're healed. You won't need to prove anything. You'll simply wake up, make your coffee, look out the window, and realize that the person you were desperately trying to get back was never them.